In 175 years, we've learned that times change, but what matters never will. How we learn has changed. Why we learn hasn't. The economy has changed, but the need to grow your investments hasn't. No two people will ever be the same, but what we value hasn't changed. The time is now to plan, grow, and protect what you value. Visit uapoldmutual.com.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us in today's discussion. We're going to be talking about the actuarial qualification journey. My name is Sylvia Nzau. I'm a fellow of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, recently qualified. So we're going to have a panel of 4 speakers, all of them recently qualified. And the hope is that because of our recent qualification, that the qualification journey is still fresh. So I'm the group actuary for Madison, Kenya. And by way of introduction, I'll ask my panelists to tell us their names, which company they work for, what exactly it is they do, and give us a very brief overview of their qualification journey, whether they qualified via writing all the actual exams, whether it was a combination of exams and exemption, which professional body they belong to, and last but not least, how long it took them to qualify from the time they sat for their first exam. So we'll start with Joan. Joan, kindly share your qualification journey with us.
Hello everyone. Recently qualified actuary with the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries in the UK. Currently, I work as an actuarial officer at the Insurance Regulatory Authority, that is the IRA. I remember I joined the IFOA in 2013, and I just qualified this past sitting of 2020. So it has taken me about 7 years to complete my papers. It was a mix of both exemptions and also sitting the exams during the 2 sittings per year. So I managed to get 3 exemptions from the CAS Business School, which is in London, and I sat and passed 12 papers on my own. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations. 12 papers written. Wow. Tillen, please share your qualification journey with us.
My name is Tillen. I'm a specialist at Britam Life and Pensions subsidiary. I started my actuarial journey in 2011 when I first wrote my exam, and I qualified in 2019. So that's about 8 years later. I'm a fellow of the Institute and Faculty of Actuary, and my typical day-to-day involves statutory reporting, a bit of product development support for the life and pension team.
Okay, so Tillen, I know that there are some exams that you did with the Society of Actuaries. That's the American actuarial body. So are you trying to find an easier way around your qualification, or what was the reasoning between having some exams from SOA and then having some other exams from IFOA? And is this something that you would recommend to the students who are watching?
I think it's time to come clean. I did one exam with the Society of Actuaries, and the reason why I did that is by the time I got to do that particular exam, that co-application 1, the institute and faculty had changed the way things were done. Back in the day when I started out, used to have 2 sittings like that for the theoretical exams or the written exams, and then you could do the practical exams at any point in the year. So I think by the time around 2015, they changed and mandated that the practical exams were also to start twice a year. So I think when I got to that point, and I wanted to qualify quickly because I had two practical exams left. So I started to do one exam with the Society of Actuaries, and then carry credit faculty factories and write the other exam with the institute and faculty factory. Basically, just to try and pick it up rather than be slowed down by that pace of sitting practical exam for a year.
Okay, so it's not an issue of one actuarial body having easier exams than the other.
What I'd say is that the approach that the two take, somehow they differ in the structure and how you prepare for the exam. So I would not encourage somebody to do what I did. I know that's
Thank you for
ironical,
being
but
clear
if I were
about
to do it
that.
again, I would not. If I were to do it again, I would not do what I did.
Okay, that's good to hear. Finally, we'll hear from Sheila on her qualification journey.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. So my name is Sheila Gatu, and I work at Zamara in Rwanda, recently moved to Rwanda. And my qualification journey started in 2007, where I was doing my degree at the University of Cape Town, and I managed to get 5 exemptions from that. Then I took about a 4-year break to attend to family duties. So I became a wife and a mother, and I think in that period I only did 1 exam. And then I picked my exams up again in 2015. And from that time, I've been writing them out of university. So recently qualified in 2020. So the total journey is about 13 years. And I forgot to say my role right now in Rwanda. I'm the resident actuary and general manager.
Okay, thank you, Sheila. So for me, it took me about 10 years from the time I wrote my first I4 exam till the time I wrote my fellowship exam. So that was 10 years of doing nothing but working and doing my actual exams. And one of the reasons why it took me so long for me to qualify is because there are some exams that you just didn't get it out of the way on the first sitting. So what IFOU usually do is that, okay, at least at that time, they used to release the pass list. And it's usually at some weird hour at night, probably around 9 p.m. or 11 p.m., depending on daylight savings. So all the students globally who sat for the exam, they all go online. So the first thing that happens is that the site starts crashing. So you're there, all of you, clicking refresh, 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 refresh. Then finally you get to the pass list. Then Control F, you start looking for your name. So start with your first name, Sylvia. SYL, there are a couple of Sils in that list. So you check them, there's a Sylvester, there's a Sylvia, some random Sylvia, but your name is not on the pass list. Then you move to your second name, because probably for this sitting, they chose to use your second name and your last name. So you start the search again. Mwikali, MWI, 0, results found. Then you decide to throw in a Hail Mary. They must have misspelled the first name and the second name. So definitely a third name is on the pass list. So my surname is Nzau. NZA, still nothing found. Then you start over again, so Sylvia, nothing. Just confirming, Mwikali, not there. Nzau, not there. And then that's when it dawns on you that you've failed the sitting. So you call yourself for a meeting, you give yourself psych, probably the reason I failed is that I didn't get enough exam practice. So this time around it's going to be different. Give yourself the pep talk, and then you tell yourself, second time is a charm. So second time you do the exam results are released. Repeat the same thing. Refresh, refresh, refresh. You're inside the pass list. Or you're inside the website. Then you start looking for your name. So first name, second name, third name, you're still not there. So the point is, at some point, an actuary can struggle with passing an exam. So I'll throw this question to my panel. First, let's just take a poll or a survey. If you have ever failed a university exam, say aye. If you've ever failed a university exam. So I'll start with Tillen. Tillen, have you ever failed a university exam?
Never.
Sheila, have you ever, let's move to Sheila, hand is up. Sheila, have you ever failed a university exam?
I have two.
Oh,
Two of them.
really? You're distorting. I already had a bias. There's a point I was trying to prove. Anyway, so let's move to the actuarial exams. So, on the panel, is there anyone who has never failed a single actuarial exam? That's the institute exams. Joan, have you ever failed an exam?
Yes, yes, painfully so.
Give us your experience with failing the I4 exams and what it has taught you.
Oh my God, how to describe the pain after you've read for 4 or 5 months and then you miss your name on that list. I think the one that pained me the most was the former CT4 exam. I think it was part modeling or something. I failed it twice and then I decided I'm taking a break from this paper. I'm not going to attempt it for the next 1 year until I figure out exactly what is making me fail the exam. So I have had a couple of failures, but that one I remember really, really went to the core of who I am. But looking back, I thank God for those experiences because once you fail the exam, you know what you've done wrong and you're able to correct it during the next sitting. So as painful as it is going through it, when you look back, you actually consider it a worthwhile experience. But as you said, it's a really disappointing experience.
Yes, it is. So one of our panelists is from the Maseno School. So apparently you just don't throw in Maseno School. You have to call it the Maseno School. So Tillen is the straight A kid, I'm sure he's made it into a few of the newspapers during the national exams. And then lo and behold, the I4 exams hit you. Tillen, what has been your experience with failure?
I think maybe now that you have alluded to it, yes, I was in Maseno School. We are very proud of that. We normally say it's the premier learning institution in Kenya, having established in 1906. So it's something that we wear, it's a belt we wear with a lot of pride. When I sat my KCSE exam, I was in country. When I start my primary school, that's Omaseno, when I start my primary school exams, I was among top 200 students. So my trajectory has always been, I do very well in national. Just like I said, I've never failed a university exam. But when I started actuarial training, very and stuff. So you an failing an actuarial exam for the first time, really failing an exam for the first time in my life. It was humbling, going back and trying to see what you did wrong, trying to find out the particular skill set that the examiners are looking for. It helps you to gain a certain depth. It helps you to consider a wider angle when you are responding to, or rather when you're crafting a solution to a problem. And that is very important because you realize as professionals, sometimes we can be arrogant, sometimes we can fail to consider all the people that are affected by our solutions or the advice that we give. And sometimes that's because for some of the professionals, they tend to be some of the best students in their classes, rather they find themselves top percentiles of whatever class they were in. So there can be a bit of that arrogance sometimes. So I think the challenge that the actual exam throw at you helps you, develop character better. They help you to think widely about the people who are affected by the solution you provide, advice you provide, and so on and so on. So I think for me, it's been I can say it's been a good learning journey. and I can confidently say it has definitely helped to improve my character. Thank you,
That is
Sylvia.
that is good to hear. Sheila, what has been your experience eating humble pie by failing the actual exams?
Wow, it feels like being hit by a ton of bricks. My most recent failure was SA1, the healthcare paper, the fellowship paper for healthcare. And I remember I had forgotten to check the results, but I woke up in the middle of the night just feeling anxious, and I didn't even know why I was feeling anxious. So I opened my WhatsApps, and the first message I get is one of my best friends, Wangeshi, saying, "I'm so sorry, Sheila." And I'm wondering, why is she saying
Why is she
sorry?
sorry?
Because in my head, there was no way I could have failed. I mean, really? And so I'm wondering, why is she telling me sorry? But surely enough, when I went to check the website, I had failed. And so it felt like I'd been hit by a ton of bricks. And I think the worst thing is how it can damage your self esteem. Because I remember when I was now studying to resit the paper, my confidence was so low. And so it has not been easy failing. I failed some exams as well when I was in campus. And so a lot of tears and so on. But as Tillen said, it builds your character. And I can definitely say that now having qualified, I'm not just an actuary, but my character has also been built.
I think for me, my experience with failing my fellowship exam, I qualified, my fellowship exam was SA2. That's a life insurance paper. I think I qualified on my third, if not fourth attempt, probably the third attempt. And I remember for me, every time I failed that exam, because you see, once you're that close to qualifying and you're that close to no longer being allowed to make mistakes because you're essentially not a student anymore. They now give you the title of FIA and I don't know, it's like your margin of error, especially at the office, becomes extremely reduced, if not non-existent in entirety. So for me, every time I failed the exam, I was telling myself, you're just probably not yet ready to be an actuary. That was my consolation. I was like, we're just not yet there. Just take your time, take your time, take your time. Anyway, so finally you find a name on the pass list. And I'm sure now what the students are wondering is was it really worth all that hassle, all that time, all that money? What was the one most significant thing that changed in your life once you got the title of Fellow of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries? I'll start with you, Joan.
For me, I think you just feel there is this burden that has been lifted off your shoulders. And like as I said, I did the papers for about 7 years before qualifying. So it's your whole life, your whole year is defined by these papers. I know what I'm going to be doing in January, in February, in March. I'm going to be studying. After the exams, I'm going to be waiting for results. After results, I need to decide what paper I'm doing next. And the cycle starts all over again for 7 years. So having completed the papers, first of all, I felt a sense of relief that, you don't have to be on that strict schedule anymore. And you also find yourself with a lot of free time. So you're looking now for interesting things to occupy your time that you're not doing the papers. So those would be the two most significant things that I'd say have changed for me.
Thank you, Joanne. I think for me, it's that free time is what was feeling weird because I was so used to my life being, revolving around. I have exams in April, then I have exams in September. So by late March into April, I canceled all my social plans, and my friends and my family they've gotten used to it. I mean, I've been doing exams for 10 years, so they kind of know. I'm never there for Easter because I'll be in my room studying, then I'll come out for lunch and go back and continue studying, etc. So Sheila, now that you've qualified, do you feel like there's that missing almost structure to your life? Do you feel like maybe PhD is the next step, or am I the only one who's thinking in terms of what other qualification to pursue?
I partly agree with you, partly disagree. In terms of the structure, yes. I remember for me, I used to study early in the morning. So I used to get to the office early by around 7 to study. But now that I don't have an exam to go and study for, waking up early is harder. But in terms of thinking of doing another exam or qualification soon, no, definitely not. I'm really enjoying the free time that I get to spend with my family, and my family loves that as well. So, and really enjoying that. And another big way in which my life changed is that I've now been sent to Rwanda to be the resident actuary here. And that had a very direct correlation with me qualifying. And so far, it's been about 2.5 months, and I love my job, I love my colleagues, I love the new challenge. So definitely life has changed for the better. And I can definitely say it was worth the pain, worth the tears, worth the weekends and the Christmases and the Easters that I spent studying. It was definitely worth it.
Thank you, Sheila. I think you're easily the happiest recently qualified actuary that I know. Congratulations on your promotion and all the best with the gig in Kigali. I'm sure Nairobi is still better, but those are details, those are details. So Tillen, what's the one thing that has changed most post-qualification for you?
I'd say I now have more free time to pursue other interests. So before it was work, then from work you're rushing home to study. The little bit of time you find, you try to squeeze in family, friends who are sort of relegated to a
Sorry,
distant
Tillen, can
corner.
you tilt your laptop a bit? Just tilt your laptop a bit so I can frame yourself better. Yes, there, perfect. Yeah, proceed.
So I'd say I now have more free time to do other things other than work, study. Because before qualification, it was pretty much to run to the office. From the office, you come back, study, and the little time that you like to squeeze in your family and friends was simply not there. Uh, Now I think I can pursue hobbies. The plan is for the next year or so, I'm working on a pet project that also gives me room to breathe a bit from work and studying. And after that, I'll consider further study.
Thank you, Tillen. As you've heard, Sheila is enjoying spending more time with her family. So, on the things that you're now going to consider, is that probably now in the pipeline?
Yes, Sylvia. I know what you are hinting at. And yes, I think my father would agree with you. It's now time that I seriously started on this patch getting a wife and maybe starting a family.
Yeah, I think it's
I pretty
about
much
time.
didn't have.
Yeah, it's
It's
about
about
time,
time. Yes,
given
I
that
agree.
you've now been given powers to read, powers to work, powers to build your supercar or whatever it is that you want to call it. So, some time back, there was this, it was quite a disturbing story that was going around Kenya media about the actuarial graduate who had a first class, but he was homeless in Nairobi. And I'm sure for the actual students who are watching in, especially guys who are still in campus, that probably still itching some at the back of their minds, whether once they graduate, will they get a job? Are there enough actuarial employers out there? So I'll ask the panel to just give that student your word of advice, whether should they stick to this path of actuarial qualification, stick to, still believe in the actuarial course and the fact that there are jobs out there. What would your advice be? I'll start with Sheila.
I would definitely advise somebody who is capable of doing the course to stick with it. And by capable, I mean that it's a very technical course. And so, of course, this advice I'm giving to somebody who has technical ability. Because I also love talking to students a lot. And I find that a lot of time, students get frustrated because they actually maybe are not suited in terms of the technical skills for such a career. And so if you are suited in terms of technical ability, it's definitely worth it. It opens doors. I know two people this year, young people who got jobs in Canada. They're working online. I have two friends who are fully qualified and got jobs in other countries. One got a job in South Africa, another one got a job in the UK. So you can imagine this is in 2020 when everybody's complaining about losing jobs,
Yes.
But I know 4 people who've actually got really good jobs in other countries, and they're working from country remotely. So I mean, I would say even during the convention, we've been told that the pandemic and the post-COVID world provides an opportunity for us as experts. And so I definitely say it's worth it, especially in this uncertain time. As an actuary, you don't fear losing your job. So I would definitely say it's worth it.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Sheila. Over to you, Tillen. What would your advice be for the students who are streaming in?
For the students, I'd say before you start on the actuarial journey, you need to know what it takes. Because I find that in our education system, more often than not, students are not given fully what exactly it takes. It takes a lot in terms of technical skills, as Sheila pointed out. It also takes a bit of tenacity because you have to plan to study for the next 10 to 15 years. This is something that you need to be aware of. You need to plan. You need to be ready for. So it's not just a question of rushing to campus for 4 years and then become a qualified actuary. This is something that I find this is information that a lot of students don't have. So first of all, know what it takes. Then number two, you need to know of the alternative career paths that are there. So we are not, actuaries are no longer limited to traditional life pensions and general insurance routes of specialization. Actuaries are now going into what we are now calling the wider field. Things like credit rating, things like merger acquisitions, things like strategy, things like investments, private equity. So there are a lot of routes you can take. It is no longer limited to traditional life extension routes of specialization. The other thing that you need to do, if you take this other alternative route, you need to find a qualified expert who can mentor you on the basic skills that you have in order to qualify as an actuary on your own right. So you could be working in, let's say, a credit rating organization. You are being mentored by a qualified actuary who is specialized in a different field, but they are guiding you on basic require in order to qualify as a actuary and in order to practice successfully an actuary. So there are alternative practice aware of. So you have full information and that must. So as Sheila pointed out, you must have that technique. So get group, get going to exams comes to help or get married. So you need to be aware of.
Okay, Tillen, I think we're losing you a bit because of your internet has issues. We'll hear from Joan.
I think the first thing, as you've alluded to, is to recognize that the journey itself is not easy. As Sheila has mentioned, you need to have the technical skills in order to be able to sit and pass the exams. And also, we also need to recognize that these exams are expensive for a majority of people, because I remember for me, my parents were not able to pay for me the exams while I was in school. And how I was able to do I think by the time I graduated, I had three or four papers, was because our university used to give a kickback to students who used to perform well. Like if you are, I think, in the above the top 5 or the top 10, so they'd give you back a portion of your fees, and then now I'd be able to channel that into paying for the exams. So that it's not an easy and straightforward journey for a lot of people, but if you're very determined to see it through, and as you've said, it has taken us about 7, 8, and even more years to qualify. My advice would be, do not give up, keep pursuing the exams even when you fail, and just remember that at the end of it, it's a very rewarding journey. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. So I think the closing remarks that I'd get from the panelists is, if you were to go back to first year, Joanne, what would you do differently? Essentially, if you were to restart your actuarial journey, what's the one thing that you would do differently that would probably make you either qualify faster or, I don't know, land an actuarial gig earlier, etc.? What would be the thing that you'd do differently, Joanne?
For me, it would be two things. One, start the papers much earlier. I think there's a period where you dilly-dally, you're not really sure whether you want to start them, and it takes sort of like a group mentality that 5 or 10 of you in the same class are starting the exam, so you feel confident about that. But don't wait until there's a big number of people who are doing the exams. As soon as you're able to start them, please do. And the second thing is also in terms of mentorship. You need someone who's ahead of you, let's say in terms of papers or in terms of, their qualified actuaries to guide the journey, because as you said, it's not easy, and you need sort of someone to direct you on the paths to take, whether it's SOA or IFOA or even the South African body. Just get someone to guide you through all those major decisions.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. Sheila, over to you. What would be the one thing that you would have done differently, that you feel that would have better placed you to either finish exams earlier or would have given you probably a different career trajectory?
Thanks, Sylvia. I think I'll start by answering what I would do the same, because what I would do differently is very little. So the things I would do the same, first of all, trusting in God definitely has really been the difference for me. And then secondly, I had a study partner the whole time when I was studying. I told you that there's a break I took to be a wife and a mother, and then now I started again. So it was through a chance encounter, through a matatu. I was in a matatu and I met with Wangeshi Madenge, who's now an FIA as well.
Yeah.
And incidentally, she can a break from the exams. And so, we got to talking in the matatu and we realized that we both wanted to pick our exams up again. And we were writing the same paper. And so from that time onwards in 2015, from that time in 2015 until when we both qualified, we've written all our exams together. And so definitely, if I was to redo it again, I would still get a study buddy, because studying with Wangeshi was really made a huge difference for me. And it helped as well that we were in the same stage of life. We were both mothers, and so it wasn't bad if one of us would cancel a study date because of an emergency with a child. So I would definitely, if I was to go back in time, have a study buddy, and even more. At some point, we were joined by Kio Mwangasha as well, who I work with, and it made it even better. So I'd really insist, study with people, it helps. And then the things I would do differently, I would probably have organized myself better to do more exams, get more exemptions in campus, and probably do more exams before I settle into family life, because it hasn't been easy balancing family and the exams and work. So I would definitely tell the students listening, try do as many exams as you can when you're on campus and before you settle down, because it's not easy doing it when you have a family. But my parting shot would be that I said my story, how I had a 4-year break, but I was able to catch up again with my career in 2015. And, right now I'm the resident actuary in Rwanda. So I would give my parting shot, dream big. Even if you've had a long break, you haven't done exams in a number of years, don't let that discourage you. Dream big. I dreamt big, and here I am. So the sky is the limit. sky's the limit.
Thank you, Sheila. Wow, that is quite inspiring. Tillen, what would be your closing remarks be?
For me, I'd say for the guys who are starting out, for the students who are starting out on this journey, find out what it takes. Find the alternative career paths that are there, which one appeals to your strength. Follow it. And last but not least, find a mentor.
Okay. Thank you very much to the panel for your time. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. And I want to say thank you to all the attendants of this session. I hope you've learned something. If you're an actuarial student, it's a very worthwhile career to pursue. That's what I'll say. If I was to start over, I would still pick this journey. I would still want to be a qualified actuary. I mean, it's very rewarding. I found myself in boardrooms where I'm easily the youngest person there. I feel like I should throw in that I'm also the only female there, but that feels like it's a conversation for a different forum. But it's a very rewarding experience that I've had. So if you're failing your exams, it's not unique to you. We've failed our exams and we pick ourselves up and we continue the journey. That's the point. You always continue the journey. And if you can find study buddies, find mentors, reach out to actuaries locally and abroad on LinkedIn. It's a very tightly knit society to be part of. As Sheila has said, her closest friends are actuaries. My closest friends are actuaries. When I have even problems at work and you need something, you need like technical input from someone, it's not far-fetched for you to pick your call and then go like, I know the actuary for Britam and they've done this before. So you call them and you get advice. I know Elias at IRA and I have an issue with RBC. I call him and you get all the help that you can get. So if you're a student, just know that there's a lot of help that's waiting for you outside when you qualify. It's a very, I mean, it's a really good circle to be part of. Thank you for your time.
What is a father? Someone who promises to make you bigger than he himself could ever be?
Hello, son.
Hi, Dad. Or someone who'd hide behind a smile. Sacrifice after sacrifice.
Don't worry.
To give me the best chance in life.
Jamo, you know how your father is.
For me, my father has been my everything. For everything I am today.
At Sanlam, we truly understand the value of each promise, and for over 100 years, we have been keeping promises for all our clients. Sanlam, every promise needs a keeper.